Hello, welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger on December 27, 2020. It is that time of the year where a lot of us sit down and reflect. Reflect on what we have done this year, what we haven't done this year, what we wanted to do this year, what we didn't want to do this year, and what we want to do next year. For some people, it can be a depressing time of the year, remembering all the things you wanted to do but never gotten around to, remembering all the bad things that happened, especially in 2020. For some people, it's a tedious time of the year. It's like dying a slow death. Just get it over with already. It just drags on and on. All these slow passing of time. You can't start any project. You can't get anything going because it's going to be the end of the year. You might as well wait until next year. But for some people, it is a very calming, very peaceful, very reflective time of the year. It's when we can actually quiet down since there's no point starting anything, and anything that's going to happen, it's happened already. It's a time to sit down, take a deep breath, and really think about past, present, and future. In other words, it's a good time to do some soul searching. Standing here by my kitchen window, I gaze out at the darkness outside, even though, well, even if it was bright, I still can't see anything. But at least if it was bright, I could see the sunlight or street light. But as I face outside, it is pitch dark everywhere, and it is, for the most part, very quiet. And I stand here and think about some of the things, some of the lessons I have learned in my lifetime. And I started thinking about things that other people told me, said to me before, that really came true or really made an impact in how I deal with the world. Of course, the most influential person in my life would be my nanny, Maru, who brought me up like the mother that wasn't really my mom, the mother that I should have had, but never did. Maru treated me like one of her own children, taught me, educated me, coddled me, pampered me like I was one of her own. And she taught me a lot of things. Some of the things that back then made sense and then later on didn't make sense anymore. And some things that didn't make sense back then and later as I grew up started to make more and more sense. Today I'm going to tell you guys three of the life lessons she taught me. I don't know if it's going to apply to you guys. I don't know if you guys will find it useful, but for me, I always found these three lessons very important to keep in mind. And they, in many ways, keep me grounded and shape and form the way I conduct myself through life. I remember when I was 7 years old, This was a hot summer afternoon, and I just woke up from a nap, and Maru, as she liked to do, was sitting with me and talking to me, asking me if I wanted to watch TV or cartoon, or did I want her to read me a story. For some reason that I can no longer remember, the conversation turned into something very mature and adult. We started talking about what kind of person I wanted to grow up to be, who were my heroes, who did I look up to, how I would want to conduct myself when I grew up. And Maru said to me, she said, no matter how you turn out to be in the end, no matter what kind of person you decide to be, there's three kind of people you should always do your best to avoid becoming. She said first, the first kind of person, first kind of people you should avoid to become is an evil person. Now that was easy, even at that age, I knew what I was, evil person. Okay, I didn't want to be Rocksteady or Bebop or Shredder or the Mumra, all those villains in the cartoons. That's simple enough, yeah. But when you really think about it, it's not as simple as that. When you really think about it, those bad guys in the cartoon, they were cartoons. They recognized, they didn't mind being a bad guy. But in real life, most of the time, the kind of bad guy we find in real life, they don't think of what they're doing as bad. They don't think of themselves as evil. In other words, in their mind, they didn't decide I'm going to be an evil guy. They probably decide I want to be a good guy. And then for some reason, their deeds, their actions, turn them evil. Kind of like Boromir in The Lord of the Ring. He thought he was doing a good thing. He wanted to take the magic ring so he could help his people, and he didn't realize that he was being corrupted by the evil within that magic ring until it was too late. Similar scenes and story plots can be seen again and again in many, many more modern video games and stories. Uh, in some plots in Game of Thrones, and in one of my favorite video games, the Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is a really good example of that, because in the Soul Calibur, there's this magic sword that's supposedly going to give you power to do all kinds of things that you want. So there's all these heroes that set out to try to get this sword, because these heroes think that their cause is just, their ideas were right. They want to save their people, they want to save their own country, they want to make their masters feel proud of them, they want to do this and do that, they want to avenge their family, blah blah blah. Every one of them thinks they are doing the right thing. But if you've played that game and seen some of the ending stories, you would remember that these people, in the end, all got corrupted by the sword and turned evil, no matter how good their intentions were. So, what Maru said to me seemed simple. Don't be an evil person. But in practice, it can be a lot harder than it seems. The second type of people she told me to try not to become was try not to become a cocky person. This one really was a struggle for me, especially when I started to grow up and started to be good at music and martial art and all that stuff. Excelled in school and doing really good. in, in the gym, weightlifting, swimming, all kind of sports trophies and presentations and awards and all that stuff. It was hard because I didn't think I was cocky. I thought if I'm good, then I'm good. I'm not lying when I say I'm good. If I'm good at piano, I can say I'm good at piano. What's wrong with that? So it was a long struggle for me to come to realize that sometimes, as the old Chinese proverbs say, it's always the prettiest bird that gets shot first. It's always the most majestic beast that gets hunted down first. Sometimes just because you have the ability doesn't mean that you should or want to go out of your way to uh, announce it. Because being a cocky person is setting yourself up for all kinds of disasters. We can see this very same example in a lot of famous personalities, such as singers and superstars and sports athletes and fighters. Take the female fighter Ronda Rousey, for example, one of the best, if not the best, female UFC fighter ever walked the face of the earth. But when she was on top, she was very arrogant. She was very sure of herself. She didn't care what she said. She didn't say things to be crude or to hurt people intentionally, but she was not very good at hiding the fact that she was good, and she thought she was good. And it was because of that that brought about her downfall. That the first time she lost badly in a match, she got really put down by her fan, and she couldn't take it. Now, if we look at things a little bit different, if someone like Ronda Rousey would be able to keep things a little bit more low key and going into a fight without saying I'm going to win because I can beat anybody, that kind of mentality. If she could be a little bit more humble, a little bit more low key, then maybe when she lost, she could have just shrugged it off and say, oh well, I never said I was that good to begin with, so yeah, if I lose, that's normal. Anyone can lose. Just try again tomorrow. But because she held herself in such a high regard that when she finally lost, it was a crushing defeat for her. Every single time I entered a tournament, I entered a competition, and every single time that I lost, I learned a lot more than when I won. Because when I won, all it did was confirm what I already knew. I was good. But if I lost, then it showed me where I wasn't good enough and where I could still work on my songs, my playing, my martial art, my swimming, etc., etc. So don't become a cocky person. It's one of those advices that, again, it's really hard to spot yourself doing it. Just like don't be an evil person. But definitely a valuable lesson that followed me through my entire life, and something that I still struggle with a little bit even today. Once in a while, if I'm not careful, I still tend to fall into that arrogant cockiness category. Last but not least, Maru told me, don't become the middle person. I remember back then this was the only one I didn't understand. And I asked her, I said, what do you mean? Don't be the middle person. And she said, this I will not explain to you right now. I want you to remember, and somewhere along your journey, somewhere as you get older, you will understand this. And she was right. It took me a while, but eventually I came to realize the wisdom of that. You see, being the middle person really, really, really sucks. When I was little, every single time my mom and my dad would fight, and either my mom would call me to her side, and she would ask me, if your daddy and I break up, who would you choose to live with? Or my dad would call me to his side and he would say, if I break up with your mom, who would you side with? In the beginning, I tried the honest way. Oh, of course I would be with you, mom. Or dad, of course I would choose you. And I tried the dishonest way. Dad, I pick you, without a doubt. Even though in my mind I knew I was going to pick my mom. Mom, I would pick you. No, no problem, no question about it. Even though in my head I knew I was going to pick my dad. I tried both ways. I tried being honest. I tried being dishonest. And every single time it came back to bite me on the behind. Because parents, and I know it's not just my parents, I know almost all parents do something like this. They are fighting with each other. And then after they ask their children, let's say my mom and my dad are fighting, my mom would ask me, who would you be with? And I say, oh, of course, I want to be with you, mom. And then next argument they get into, my mom said, look at you. Look at you. You're such a bad person. Even your son doesn't want to be with you. I asked him already. Your son said he's going to pick me. And then a week later, they make up. They're best friends again. And then what happened? Now I'm in trouble because my dad, while he is over with the fight, he's done fighting with my mom, in his mind he remembered me not picking his side. He remembered me not taking his side. So even though the two of them are best buddy again, my dad now hated me. Okay? And it worked the other way too. Uh, Mom and dad fighting, and dad asked me, who would you rather be with, me or your mom? I said, oh, of course I'd be with you, dad. And then my dad, of course, would gloat. You are such a lousy mother, even your son don't want to be with you. And then a week later, they make up, they're best buddy again. Great for the both of them, but now my mom hated me. So pretty early on, I learned that the best way to do this was to say, you know what, you two are fighting all the time. I don't want either of you. I was very brutally honest with that, and at least it saved me the trouble of having the two of them make up afterward and gang up on me because I picked one or the other. Don't be that middle person. Basically, what I learned to say was, it's your conflict, leave me alone, otherwise I'm not going to pick either of you. When I was in high school, because I was very uh, well socialized, I don't want to say well liked because I had a lot of friends, but a lot of friends were just there because my family had money. But I was really well socialized. I had really good connection in school. So quite often when people, if one student wanted to borrow something from another student, or one student having problem because another student's involved with their girlfriend, blah blah blah, something like if there's conflict or thing going on between students, I would get asked to officiate. I would get asked to be the go-between. And for the most part, after a initial few times doing that, I learned to say no. No, I'll do a lot of things for you, but I will not be the middleman for you. Because whenever something goes wrong in a deal, people remember who the middleman is. And if they can't do anything to the other party, they always come back to try to get resolution from the middle person. So being the middle person got to be like one of the suckiest, one of the worst job a person could ever get into. Um, of course, there have been times when I have to do that, but for the most part, uh, people who know me, my closest friend, my girlfriend, they know that I tend to clam up if you try to push me into that middle person uh, category or area. Another example of me really trying not to do that middle person thing is if let's say, if I'm with my friend Kevin, and then let's say my friend Kevin recently had problem with my friend uh, Darren, and let's say Kevin is drinking, let's say Kevin and I were drinking, and Kevin started venting. You know that guy Darren? He think he's so cool, and I remember him when he was younger, and he blah 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 blah. And there's that time when he did this, and I didn't even say anything. And then this time, and when all I said was this, and he went and said this and this, and he's such a lousy friend, blah blah blah. And then my friend Kevin, or whoever that's talking about the other friend, would, in one fashion or another, they would turn to me and say, "How come you're not saying anything? You think I'm wrong?" And this is when I would explain to them, "No, I don't think you're wrong, but I think it's better that I don't say anything right now, because you are putting me in that very uncomfortable situation. If I agree with you, the next week you make up with Darren, and you're going to tell him that I agree with you. So now I look like the bad person because I agree with you when you were saying bad things about Darren, but then when you make up with Darren, so suddenly I am the enemy. I become the public enemy. And I don't want to disagree with you because Darren is not here. There's no point for me to defend his side of the story when I don't know his side of the story, when he's not even here in person. So I can't disagree with you. I can't agree with you. So I might as well just don't say anything at all. I'll just let you vent. And that is the choice I make on a very conscious level, uh, not to get cornered into being that middle person. Like I said, these three things have been the foundation of a lot of decisions I make in my lifetime. A lot of time when I'm deciding on something, I ask myself, does this make me an evil person? Is this decision going to be evil or bad for someone else? Does this make me the middle person? If I say this, will I get involved unwittingly? And should I say this? Should I do this? Will this make me a cocky person? And most of the time, if the answer is no, then I will feel good about going forward to do and say whatever that is needed. But if the answer is yes, or maybe, or I'm not sure, then most likely I will find another path to proceed through life. Like I said, I don't know if this will be useful for the rest of you, or for you to find a more clear way to go through life, go through your tomorrow. Uh, but they definitely have worked for me, and all these three things have been wisdoms that I can live by for the past 25, 30 odd years of my life. So just wanted to share that with everybody. Thank you for checking out today's Soul Search Sunday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Music Monday. For now, have a good night.